Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Winning Mondays in KW Malaysia's regional trainings. I want to start this morning off with some level of gratitude. I want us to ask ourselves this question. I want to ask everyone this question. What is that one thing that you are grateful for in the past couple of weeks in the month of October so far? So put in the chat box, what is that one thing that you all are grateful for personally in your life, in your business, in your progress as a real estate agent? Freedom, awesome. Freedom, right. What else? Francis is very fast. That's freedom. What else? What are some of the things that you are grateful for in this season in the month of October? Anyone else? Come on, guys, just put in the chat box. What is that one thing that you are grateful for? Good health. What else? Anyone else? 2% is grateful for. The rest, what happened? 50 old people. What happened, man? Come on, guys. What are you grateful for? Put in the chat box here for us. Able to get on a plane again. Wow. Awesome. I have totally not remember when. I think the last time I took a plane was February 2020. Oh, it's almost more than 2 years, almost 2 years already, 18 months. Okay, what else? What else? What are you all grateful for in the month of October? Anyone? Put in the chat room. Put in the chat box here quickly. Anyone, what are you grateful for? Gratitude is very important. It brings you the best energy. You read the MREA book in the chapter for energy. In order for us to gain better energy, is to always be grateful for something. Anyone else? Put in the chat box, please. What are you? Meeting people. Awesome. Meeting people is what we are grateful for. How many of you are grateful for being outside and doing appointments? Business resume back. Awesome. I was very grateful when I went to a few restaurants over the weekend. I saw everyone was busy. It was a really busy restaurant that I went to that I felt, wow, I'm very grateful for that on behalf of the owner of the restaurant, that things are moving forward. Right. So today our conversation is really about growth, right? It's about how we progress into growth. And I think you cannot talk about growth if you cannot talk about progress, right? And there's the difference between growth and progress. And I want to talk a bit about progress, success, and then growth, right? So I want to talk about these three key things very quickly this morning. But to help all of us to kind of align ourselves into this conversation, I want to play a short video clip by Simon Sinek that talks about how should we measure progress? What's the right metrics to see that we are actually progressing? So I thought that was a very good insight that he brought in. So I'm going to ask Marcus to play the short video for a few minutes. Sit back, relax, enjoy that video. Marcus, can you play that video for us right now?
The metrics that we have are not wrong. They're just incomplete, right? The standard metrics that we have to measure our own success in our companies, profits and revenues, EBITDA, whatever you want to use, and the standard metrics we use to measure our own wealth, there's nothing wrong with those. They're just incomplete. That's like saying, you know, when I chose to marry her, she's really good looking. Important. And is she a good person? Does she bring the best out in me? You know? How is she in times of stress? Like, will she look after me? Will I look after her? Will she let me help her? You know? In other words, there's more to it, and it's the same for businesses. So what I'm learning to do is to understand those balancing metrics. So I'm now very interested in things like momentum, right? Where I want to measure momentum as much as I want to measure accomplishment or sheer numbers. So, for example, the traditional way in which we measure, this is really funny. This is an inside joke you won't get. Can I have that pad if you still have it back there, please? Or not? Never mind. There was a whole debate before, I don't need the pad. And they said, well, keep it here in case you need it. I'm like, no, I don't need it. No, I need it. Anyway, I'll just do a visual thing. So the way we traditionally measure success is we give someone a goal, right? We say, meet this financial goal. And then what we do is, you're the best. So here's what we do. We give somebody a financial goal. We say, hit that goal, right? And what we do is we don't We don't know how they got there, right? They beg, borrow, and steal. The morale on their team is, if they're doing well, it's high. When they're doing badly, it's really low. They can't hold on to employees or team members. They keep quitting or getting fired. And it's kind of a mad dash. And then on the right day, on the right time, they hit the goal, and we give that person a bonus. There's another person who's building a team. Morale is really good all the time, whether it's good times or bad. Performance is not crazy highs or lows. It's just the steady growth. The team gets along great, and at the end of the financial year, that's where they end up and they miss their goal. We don't give that person a bonus. And so what I'm starting to pay attention to is momentum, right? And how we got somewhere. Clearly, this person's going to hit their goal in 16 months or 17 months. But to the rest of the organization, we told them, don't do this. We told the rest of the organization, do this. So what ends up happening is we are incentivizing behavior that's actually bad for the organization and bad for the team, because we make this the end-all be-all. So what I'm considering is not just were they able to hit the goal, but how's the momentum? And in reality, I want not to give this person a bonus, and I want to give this person a bonus because whatever they're doing, I want them to do more of that, because in long term, this is way more valuable to my company than this. And it's same with my own life. Like, I'm starting to think in terms of momentum. So I don't really care what my book sales are. I genuinely don't care. What I care about, does it keep selling? Because what that means is my message is relevant enough that there's still demand for it with no marketing. I'm not out there hawking it. Because I know if I turn up the marketing dial, I'll see the numbers go up. I want to see, can it sustain itself? So unlike a lot of other people in my business, you can become an Amazon #1 bestseller. It's really easy. You get all of your friends to buy the book in the same hour, because the algorithm recalculates every hour. And you can launch your own little self-published book, get all your friends to buy it, and in your category, you'll be #1. And for the rest of your life, you're a #1 Amazon bestseller. You can hire a company to make you a New York Times bestseller. And you only need to make the New York Times bestseller list once, 1 week, and for the rest of your life, you're a New York Times bestselling author. It's all bullshit. Or get all your friends to give you 5 stars on Amazon. You got a 5-star book and you sell 1 book a year. I don't ask any friends to write any Amazon reviews for me. I don't ask anybody to buy a book at a certain time. I've never hired a company to make me a New York Times bestseller. And the reason is because I actually want to know. I actually want to know, is it really a 4.5-star book? Is it really a 2.5-star book? Have I offered the world something of value? I actually want to read the valuable criticisms. Because I actually care about my long game. I want to know that the value that I'm providing can sustain without me pushing it. So in my own personal life and in my business, I'm looking for new ways to understand and measure momentum. And I'll add one other thing, because I can't help myself. I give long answers. Plus, I just think this is really interesting. So I've worked with the Navy SEALs, and I asked them, like, how do you pick like the guys that go on SEAL Team 6, right? Because they're the best of the best, the best, the best. And they drew a graph for me, and on one side they wrote the word performance, and on the other side they wrote the word trust. The way they define the terms is performance on the battlefield and performance off the battlefield. So this is your skills. This is, did you make your quarterly earnings, however you want to translate it, right? Performance, it's traditional. This is, how are you off the battlefield? What kind of person are you? The way they put it is, I may trust you with my life, but do I trust you with my money and my wife? They're SEALs. This is what they told me. Nobody wants this person, the low performer of low trust, of course. Of course, everybody wants this person, the high performer of high trust. Of course. What they learned is that this person, the high performer of low trust, is a toxic leader and a toxic team member. And they would rather have a medium performer of high trust, sometimes even a low performer of high trust, it's a relative scale, over this person. This is the highest performing organization on the planet, and this person is more important than this person. And the problem in business is we have lopsided metrics. We have 1,000,001 metrics to measure someone's performance and negligible to no metrics to measure someone's trustworthiness. And so what we end up doing is promoting or bonusing toxicity in our businesses, which is bad for the long game. because it eventually destroys the whole organization. The irony is, it's unbelievably easy to find these people. Go to any team and say, who's the asshole? And they'll... they will all point to the same person. Equally, if you go to any team and say, who do you trust more than anybody else? Who's always got your back? And when the chips are down, they will be there with you. They will also all point to the same person. It's the best gifted natural leader who's creating an environment for everybody else to succeed, and they may not be your most individual highest performer. But that person, you better keep them on your team.
Right. I wanted to talk a bit about that is because I think the way we understand progress and success today, in the way we think about things, sometimes we don't focus on things that how success is being programmed in the way our culture is programming. So, for example, in the real estate industry, right, in our country, right, there's a lot of hype about success. Success is when you buy a Mercedes-Benz. Success is when you hit a certain milestone or certain things. Right? So I wanted to think back about this message as we talk about growth and success and progress and all that, right? I wanted to just give us that perspective. And I want to give you a formula right now. Can you all see my screen?
Not yet.
Oh, not yet. Wait. Sorry. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Right.
Can.
So I've got this new formula that I want to share with everyone. And I think the first thing we should measure is our progress. Right? So progress is something that's important. I'll go through this formula later and I'll explain what you mean. So progress, right? Progress is when we do certain things on a daily basis that is incremental in its impact, The question is, do you measure progress? So I give you an example of progress. If your goal says that you need to hit 5 listings a week and 1 listing a day, are you measuring that progress? Right? So progress is something that sometimes we fail to measure. These are the small things that will piece together and make the big things, right? So progress, and then you have to add something else. You have to have some sort of a win, right? A progress or a win or a milestone, right? What's the progressing to? Sorry about my writing. I couldn't find a sharp end thing. So I will progress in the next session. I will get a different pen next session, right? So what's the win and the milestone that you set for your business? And I argued that everybody need to think about this in order for you to measure your progress. So when you hit your progress and you have your wins, what you start building is what we call momentum. Do you have the momentum that is derived from the progress and the small wins or the milestone that you achieve? So example of a milestone would be the listings that you achieve this week. So your goal and your milestone is that every week I must achieve 5 listings. Now, if you keep achieving these 5 listings on a weekly basis for the next 10 weeks, put in the chat box, what's going to happen to your business? If you have 5 listings added into your listing bank every week for the next 10 weeks, what happened to your business? Put in the chat box. Anyone? I'm waiting. Put in the chat box. What will happen when you keep having listings added on to your business every day, every week, 5 listings a week? If that's your goal, you're hitting your goal. Growth in success rate. What else? Busy. Awesome. What else? What's happening? How would you feel when you are hitting your milestones every week? When you are measuring your progress, how do you feel? More appointments, more closing, yes, but as a person, more successful. Why do you feel more successful? Put in the chat box. Because you see growth, because you see something called progress, right? And progress, it builds confidence, it builds beliefs. A lot of us lose confidence is because we cannot see the progress that we are in. Actually, we are progressing, but we cannot see it. So how do you see the progress? You get to map it out and show your progress. You see, this is what traditionally happened. Let me just take this away. This is what traditionally happened in our business, right? We see agents, we see our competitors, or we see the guy next to us, right? Suddenly he hit one goal here and he hit his big sale here. And we imagine that the line is like that. But in actual fact, it could be that person has been going through a very tough time. Suddenly, he just find a way to hit here. And if you ask this same person that bought the Mercedes-Benz, that bought the Rolex, who did some success, right, to work backwards and maintain this to the next level, to make sure that he keeps progressing, right, you will see most of them are stuck. You will see that in our business, right, I study a lot of our agents, a lot of agents in our industry, they find it difficult to maintain where they are every year. Not many can maintain. Why? Is because they cannot trace back how they actually achieved this. Some of them don't understand suddenly why they achieved it. Maybe I hit one big deal or 3 big deals. That year was a great year. Next year is a bad year. I don't know how to hit it because there isn't a way for them to maintain progress. So the difference between another person is every time there's a milestone, it's a slow progress. There's a milestone, right? And if you put the lines together, at the end of a certain time frame, they hit this goal. Now you ask them next year to either double this up or to hit 50% up, they will know where to adjust here. Versus this guy who is moving around, sorry, I draw a very bad drawing, like a snake like that. They don't know how to get back to where they were. They didn't know how did they get here. A lot of people don't know how they get here, one. Right? They just sort of achieve their business because of doing certain things at that point in time, but not realizing what they were doing. Does it make sense? And when they hit a certain situation in the market, today we are in a market where our market is challenging, right? You will see there is two different people. That the people on this side who has certain pathway, certain progression measurement, or certain way of doing their business in a systematically orderly way, are succeeding much better at a higher level than these people. You go and ask your friends, how many people today who is in this business more than 10 years are struggling? A lot. Because a lot of those people don't understand. The only way they understand is, I don't know how to put my newspaper ad, my online ads, I put out my advertisement, I get my listing, I hand my banners, and nothing happens. Why? Because the guy on this side who is having certain steps in place are succeeding at a higher level. And I argue in the next 1 to 2 years, if we don't sit down and measure our progress, we don't sit down and plan our business in a way that is measurable, that has give us certain level of momentum, we won't succeed. It's very difficult to succeed, right? So I just thought of sharing that this morning with you guys, that in order for us to be successful, it's really momentum plus time will equal success. That's the formula. You build momentum through progress and milestones. Through time will bring you success. And if you draw a 5 years, 10 years horizon, your chart should be something like this. It should be slowly pushing up. If your chart is not pushing you up, then you need to work back on your momentum. You cannot change time because time is fixed, but you can adjust your momentum. And I argue that everyone today in our business do not look at momentum very well. They focus on success without momentum. Success is the end game, the awards you want to get. It's the recognition that you want to get, which is important. But before you can focus on this, you need to focus on your momentum. Question to everyone, how many of you are happy with your momentum? From a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being I'm unhappy about my momentum, 10 being I'm absolutely satisfied with your momentum. Where are you right now? Put it in the chat box. Put that in your chat box. 2, some are 6, some are 2. Great. Who else? Anyone else? Put in your chat box. How happy are you with your momentum? 5, awesome. What else? 7, 8. What else? Anyone else? 6, 7. Now, for those who are at below 5, you got to start working on a plan. Those who are above 5, ask yourself from a 5 or 6, how do I get to a 7 and 8? What's stopping me from moving forward upwards? What are the things that I have to do right now to move upwards and gain momentum? Because it is momentum that drives our business. It is movement, right? It is progress. It is milestones that we hit. Every milestone you should celebrate. Every milestone you get the recognition. But it's important for us to know how does that look like, because you wouldn't know a momentum if you don't understand the progress. Passion drives momentum, correct? And you need to understand that, and the passion sometimes is motivated by a drive of my big why, but it also motivated by small successes, small wins, right? That's important, right? Okay, I'm going to put the next half an hour. I've got a guest on the call here today to talk to us about opportunity and growth, to talk to us about that personal journey of building that momentum and personal journey of how she is building momentum and having opportunities as momentum came to her, right? So we have all the way from Market Center 1, we have Ashlynn, right? Ashlynn, just to let you know, I purposely shaved myself so that I look a little bit better. Now, after people say Beauty and the Beast very difficult, so I shave myself so I can match up to that momentum of progress, right? So Ashlynn, can you share a bit about yourself? Tell us who you are, what do you do right now?
Okay, so good morning, everyone. So I'm Ashlynn Wong from Market Center 1. Yeah, so I've been in the real estate industry for 5 years now. So I joined Redfield since 2016 until now. Yeah, and currently I'm also part of the regional team.
Right. Can you share with us what do you do in the regional team right now?
Okay, so currently my role in the regional team is that I'm actually working very closely with Marcus and Xiumin, the adoption of KW Malaysia. Work very closely with from all the market center, looking at R2.
Right. Sorry, I think you were a bit choppy. So you're working on the growth trajectory for R2 recruitment. At the same time, you're working very closely with the technology team to help drive adoption in the technology side. Can you share with us in your real estate business for the past 1 to 2 years, how has that looked like?
In the past 1 to 2 years, okay, so I actually started as a solo agent. So after that, in 2019, I became a productivity coach and then working with a team of people, mainly focusing on project. And yeah, so for the last 2 years, it has been challenging, but I'm also very grateful because they are still results, yeah, in my business.
Right. How's your 2021 transaction result look like? How's your production right now based on 2021 numbers for yourself personally?
Okay, so for myself personally for this year, right, 2021, so in terms of SPA signed up until today is about 10 million.
10 million SPA signed. What is that in GCI roughly?
100 over 1,000. Yeah.
Right, right. So can you share with us in this season, right, in this pandemic season this year in 2021, which is very challenging, much more challenging than last year, what are some of the metrics that you measure to showcase that you are progressing to yourself? What are some of the things that you are telling yourself you are progressing, and that certain things that you are not progressing? How do you measure your own progress?
How do I measure my own progress? Okay, I used to measure it with number, which I think knowing my own numbers is very, very important. But other than that, right, so currently I've come to a point where I think that money or numbers is just one thing, but more importantly is really how I feel. Like I feel that the wealth, right, the metrics is not just the money alone, but overall, in terms of maturity, how I feel internally, that is very, very important. Yeah.
Right. Can you share a little bit about what do you mean by how you feel? What are some of the things that you say that, okay, I think here I'm progressing, here I need more help? What are some of the things that you're working on to help you see that you're progressing? Give an example if you don't mind.
Okay, I feel the mindset thing, because when you are in sales, right, let's say, okay, you know your number very well and you are progressing, you'll be very happy, but it will come to a point where you feel that something is lacking, that you're happy but maybe not fulfilled. Yeah, so the mindset. So for me, because I've been a solo agent and then I've worked with a team, so I was a productivity coach previously. And I think certain skill that I lack is actually coaching. Because for me, I feel like you can do certain things very well, but when it comes to transfer a skill to another person, right, it is actually another skill. You know how to do, but it doesn't mean that you would be able to teach or transfer that skill effectively. Yeah, so I think that is about the coaching part. That is a skill that I'm still lacking now. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And great, you brought out a very clear point that because you were quite okay in your personal sales journey, that's why you're hitting your goals, you're measuring the appointments and all that. But when it comes to the ability to transfer that skill set or to scale up that same ability you have, how can you help someone else become like you? There was a gap because there's a total new skill in order for you to do that, right? How did you come to a realization that you have a gap here?
How do I come to realization? Okay, so because working with team, especially for rookie, right, I feel that it's a very challenge, especially when people don't know certain things and you know it, but you don't know how to structure it in a way that they'll be able to absorb it. Yeah, it's like I know 1 + 1 is 2, but when they ask me how come 1 + 1 is 2, why cannot be 3? I cannot explain because it's 2, it's 2. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So it's basically communication and helping them. And you realize that there was a gap, right? Because they were not responding the way you thought they should be responding.
Yeah, and certain thing I thought that it is very common sense, but I just cannot explain it the way to simplify it so that they would understand it. So that is my challenge, lah.
Right. Thank you for being open and transparent here. In your own personal journey right now, in terms of your growth, in terms of your business, right? What do you think needs to change so that your business will grow even more than where it is right now?
What do I think need to change? I think if I have better exposure, probably working with a different leader or in a slightly different environment, right? Probably that would be better as well, because I've been surrounded by a lot of people who are very, very good in doing sales. But I think it will come to a point where you would want to rise up and probably work on different role. Yeah.
Right. So basically, that's why you explore the option of working in the regional team, because there is that environment and then a lot of crazy people in the team that will help you explore new things, right? That's why you are excited to be part of this regional team. How has that been so far in the past couple of weeks? I think like 1.5 months you are in the regional team right now. You are learning new things. You are thinking about growth. You look at growth very differently. What are some of the things that have changed your perspective because of the environment that you are in?
Yeah. So with regional, I think initially the first 2 weeks I was struggling like really hard. I think because in regional, right, regional is a very fast-paced environment and it's more task-oriented. So I can tell where the efficiency comes from. Whereas in sales, right, there are times where you work very long hour, but it's not as fast-paced as in regional. So I give you an example. Let's say for regional, right, we have a lot of meetings. So there are days where my meetings start as early as 8 o'clock. So by 10 o'clock, right, I will have finished 4 meetings already. Yeah, so there are days where, let's say on Monday, it's packed with meeting from morning until end of the day. Yeah, so we move from one meeting to another. And because of my, because I have two roles in regional as well, so I have to, shift my focus. Okay, so this meeting we talk about R2, then next meeting we talk about technology, and then move to R2 again. Yeah. So on top of that, other than my role in regional, I'm still working on the ground as well as an agent right now. Yeah, so I still have to time block for that. Yeah, so I was just initially I was struggling hard to like adjust my pace, but I think last week was my third week. I think I got a lot better. Yeah, and I'm actually happier.
Okay, okay. But yes, can you share with us, as you move from the pace step up, right? You realize things are more efficient. How has that applied to your own real estate business in terms of the efficiency that you are learning from being in the regional team? How, you mentioned that sometimes as a salesperson, we work very long hours, but the pace is not so fast, right? Can you explain how has that impacted the way you look at sales business right now?
How do I sorry, your question.
Because this is fast paced, you have to do a lot of things in a very short period of time, right?
Yeah.
How has that helped you to improve, or has it helped you to improve the way you look at a business or a sales business right now in your real estate business?
Okay, I would say that initially I was struggling because I was trying to compartmentalize things. I tell myself that, okay, so when I attend this, let's say technology is all about tech. So when I'm attending an R2 call, it's just for R2. So sales is sales. So I was actually, I find myself I was struggling. But after that, when I think of, hey, all this thing that I do, right, is actually interrelated one. Like I should integrate it in instead of putting them into a box. Because my role in regional, right, over the last, to you is 1.5 months. It's actually 3 weeks, but it feels so long, right? I don't know why. Right. Yeah, but it's definitely a joy and a pleasure to be part of the regional team. So I feel that I shouldn't put them into my box, because my role, whatever that I'm exposed to in regional, right, it actually helps me in my business as well. So for example, let's say currently I'm actually working on experimenting some of the new technology features that we are about to roll out very soon. So as I was, working on it, trying it out, right, it doesn't feel like I'm doing a job just for regional, because yeah, it's something like, hey, I'm actually thinking of how this thing can help me in my business, because I'm also working on the ground. And then whereas when I'm attending the worldwide call on Tuesday and Wednesday night, right, you think that they are teaching you about recruitment. Is not. So from what I learned, right, all the things and the skill that they taught us is all about authenticity and also relationship building. And it's applicable not just for you to talk to R2, even with internal, external agent, or even people around us, with your family, with your spouse, right? It's actually applicable. Yeah.
Right. So basically you then start thinking, how can all these things that you are doing, you're working on integrating them to help you hit your business. And then that's a very big word, integration. Because if we can integrate the way we do our business to the way we run our lives, right, I think it will give us better clarity and better opportunity for us to be a better version of ourselves. I think that was just what Ashlynn was sharing. So right now, if I ask you, since your exposure to us and also some of your personal growth in the past few years, right, what are some of the ways you measure the momentum to say that, hey, I think I'm on the right track right now. I think I'm on the right traction. What are some of the things that you use to measure, besides what you just shared just now, what some of the things that you use to measure your progress and momentum in your business? Let's talk specifically about your business in terms of the sales business.
Specifically in terms of my sales business.
Yeah.
How do I measure? I think the way I talk to people, yeah, the way I talk to people, like I learn better. I think over the last 2 weeks in the R2 call, right, we learn about DASC. So it's really so powerful where people, where you have the world-class trainer who just share with you how different people with different personality, how they behave and how you should be responding to, to their different personality. I think that helps. So I'm able to, with whatever I learned from regional, right, it actually helps me to communicate with people better.
Right. Right. So the communication, meaning you working on communicating with leads right now becomes better, meaning you are now looking at how can you improve your conversion, right? From a lead to an appointment, and hopefully from an appointment to a sale, right? So I think that is the part where a lot of people cannot grasp. How do I improve my conversion rate from a cold lead to an appointment, or from a warm lead to an appointment? How do you do that conversion? And things like DISC is probably the tools that will help us to. Do you agree that those are the tools that can help us to increase our conversion rate, which means our progress rate? Like if I've got more appointments converted from a lead to an appointment, the higher chance of me getting a sale, right? So tell us about how do you measure those conversion rate? Do you measure those appointment rates that you do in your own business?
Yes, all the while I'm actually measuring it. So I know very clear like how many leads I need to have per day, per month, or per week in order for me to achieve my goal. Yeah.
Right. And now you are enhancing that by implementing new skills and new tools to help you increase the conversion rate, right? The potential conversion rate. Like what's your ratio from a lead to an appointment right now? Do you know the ratio?
Yes, so 8 leads to 1 appointment right now. So for my appointment, so for all the deal close to conversion, right, about 80%. But lead to appointment, every 8 leads, I will have 1 appointment. Yeah.
And how many appointments to a sale?
5 appointments to a sales.
5 appointments to a sale. When you started off 2 years or 3 years ago, was that conversion the same conversion or is a different conversion?
When I first started, I would say before the pandemic, my numbers were actually better. Yeah, my conversion were actually higher and better. Like every 4 appointment, I would have 1 closing. So closing to conversion also roughly about 70 to 80%. But now that I require slightly more leads, and I acknowledge that. I know that the current market situation, sometimes we got to double down, we got to work extra. So I'm very clear with that. Yeah, it's just make peace with that. And so right now, whatever I do, right, I just need to make sure that, okay, does this help me to bring in this number of leads? Yeah.
Right. So it was from 8 leads to 1 appointment. It was before that was 4 leads to appointment. Is that right?
Before, 8 leads to 1 appointment. I think probably slightly different because previously we did more on the prospecting.
Right.
So the number was very different. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But
and
in
right now,
terms,
where is your source of leads coming from? Where's your source of leads coming from?
mainly from KW command, portals, referral, and some SOI. Yeah.
Right. So you don't go and make cold calls anymore because of time, because you're working 8 to a full day on a whole week, right? So you leverage on command tools to generate the leads. How do you touch base with your SOI right now?
How do I touch base with my SOI right now? So, okay, so every day or every week, right, I would sit down and just write down list of people that I need to touch base on that particular week. So let's say this week I'll have 10 people, right? Then I'll just focus on that 10, that very key people. And then on top of that, some people who are not very, maybe not so warm one, I will also time block, like let's say 2 hours this week, just to touch base with these people. Yeah, so I would categorize them and then I would work on it lah. Yeah, so it's all about time block.
Right, and you're working full time, right? In the regional team, it's a full time job. And you just start at 8 o'clock until like 6 o'clock, and then at night you go for the trainings, right? Where do you find time to do those? I saw you just make a couple of sales this month. Am I right? 1 or 2 sales this month, right? How do you find time to do this?
I think a lot of people would want to know, right? Okay, so for me is that right now, because usually I wake up very early, but with that regional, right, the meetings start at 8 o'clock. So there are days where I think last week, 2 out of 5 days, right, I actually woke up at around 5:30, which is about 1 hour earlier, because usually I wake up about 6:30, 6:45. So 5:30 just to get myself ready. And I start following up with my client 7 a.m. already. So 7 to 9, by 9 a.m., I already have 1 appointment. So I posted the appointment group. So after that, after I finish with my work, like end of the day, I also follow up. So it's like usually I time block about 4 hours a day for my follow-up or lead generation, right? I'm still able to do that right now. And in fact, I think it works better for me because so happened that I have never tried texting my client this early, late at night, yes. But they actually responded. And by 9 o'clock, right, as I'm preparing for my, work in regional, right, my client also said, okay, I'll talk to you later because I'm also getting busy already. Yeah, so I think it's doable and it's actually better because early in the morning or sometimes end of the day, right, when I text or call my client, I think they are more relaxed and they are even more responsive. Yeah.
Right.
So on weekend as well, I'll also time block. Yeah.
Right. So basically it's the time block and your journey of learning to integrate everything into one right now is probably the one key thing that you're working on, and having those success even as you are very busy, right? How would you rate your satisfaction or your fulfillment in what you're doing right now versus before? How do you see yourself in this? Like, you're super busy, man. You're making at 5:30 in the morning and then you finish at what, 9-10 o'clock at night. I'm not sure what's the time now, but how do you rate yourself in this journey right now in terms of your growth, your momentum, your own personal success? What do you see yourself? How do you rate yourself in a scale of 1 to 10? And why do you rate it that way?
Okay, so I would rate myself about 7 right now, but potentially I think it will soon reach 9, 10, or even 11 out of 10. Yeah, reason because I've kind of like over the last 2-3 weeks, right, I've kind of like grasped that pace and also find my momentum. Yeah, and I know what to expect. Yeah, the first 2 weeks was horrible, I would say. Yeah, but after the 3rd week, I think a lot better, and it's actually doable because I think it's good for me as well because my full-time job with regional, my full-time job is actually related to what I'm doing, right? In fact, it actually helps me to be a better version of myself. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the environment and the trajectory for your business growth in this season has been better because of your engagement, and you change that environment, right? You're in a faster pace. Everything is measurable, high accountability. If I'm an agent today right now and I want to start my journey to have a certain level of momentum, what would your advice be for me?
I would say know what is your priority, the 20% thing that what's your 20% that will give you 80% of your result. So for agent, we have to very clear that lead generation, follow up, and then script practice, and then after that, closing sales. Yeah. So all these are your top 20%. Yeah. So you just got to time block for that.
Right. And when you started as an agent, right, and now you're as an agent, right, what were some limiting beliefs that you have overcome?
I mean, when I joined regional?
Yeah, when you join real estate.
Okay.
In real estate as a whole, when you become an agent 3-4 years ago and now, right, in your journey, right, especially in the area of measuring and building momentum, what are some of the limiting beliefs that you used to have and you don't have it anymore?
I thought so by nature, right, I'm an extreme introvert person, but I've seen myself how I thrive in the last few years where I'm getting more comfortable talking to people. I won't feel very awkward. And when I first started, right, I get very afraid of meeting people. Yeah, I'm so scared to say the wrong thing, and it just feels very awkward because it's a stranger, right? But right now, even when I just pick up the phone doing cold call, I can be very natural in talking to people, and I'm not afraid of talking to people anymore. And in fact, I quite enjoy it. Yeah.
Right. What do you think has helped you remove these limiting beliefs?
I think because the in Redfield, right, I'm actually surrounded by a lot of very great people, very successful leader or even agents. So see how they do things, and then they're being so encouraging, and also the environment. It's a very I'm also in an environment where I'm allowed to be vulnerable and just be very open and very transparent. Yeah, so I think that actually helps me to to be a better version of myself. I would say working in Whitfield, be it in sales or in regional team, right? The people are really very gracious and very kind. Yeah.
Right. We are nice. We all nice people, right? You're
Super
saying we're all
nice.
nice.
Super
Okay,
nice.
okay, cool. Can you share with me or share with the rest of us, right? What are some of the things that you are focusing to work on in your own personal growth right now? What are some of the things that you want to work on yourself for your own personal growth so that you can increase that progression and kind of move on to a higher momentum? What are some of the things that you're working on right now?
I think to be better, I would say leader, so that I would be able to influence people in a good way to impact people. Yeah, because I feel that in my personal life, currently I'm very contented and very fulfilled because I have people invest in my life and I've seen how I thrive in my personal life. So in my business, I feel that if I am exposed to this environment and yeah, I would find that fulfillment in my career as well, where I learn from the best, and after that I will also be able to get to pass on this skill to the people around me and just see everyone achieve their success. I think that's a great joy. Yeah.
So basically finding a way to contribute back to people, right? To help them go through what they're going through. As you have journeyed the same thing, you're trying to pass back, give back something back to the people. So I don't know whether there's an invitation for people to call you to ask for help, but I leave to their own creativity and the way they see this conversation here going forward. Guys, how many of you are learning something from Ashley this morning? If you are learning something, please type your ahas in the chat box. What are some of the things that you are learning from Ashley in this conversation today? Put them in the chat box, please. Anyone? How many of you are learning something, are experiencing something, you are observing certain things that is positive? Yeah, please put in the chat box. What are you learning? What are your ahas from this conversation today? Let's share some ahas today. Or any questions that you have for her, inspiring. What else? What are some of the questions that you have for her that you want to ask her right now? Put in the chat box, please. Right, very quiet today. Everyone is still coming back from, everybody came back from Langkawi. I think that's why they're all very quiet. Okay, while waiting for those things, I'm going to go for some announcement. Then I'll come back to Ashley. Wow, list, how many hours do you sleep? Oh, that's a good question. Ashley, how many hours do you sleep?
At least 7. Yeah, 7.
So that means you sleep early. Yeah, you sleep early, you wake up early.
Yeah, correct. Have to sleep early because I have to make sure that I have that energy to work on different to work on my to work during daytime. But I would say, right, actually during the first week, right, I think on that Saturday, the first week, because I haven't got myself adjusted to this very fast-paced environment. So what happened is that on Saturday, I slept from 3 o'clock in the afternoon until next day. Next day in the morning, but I actually did wake up in the middle of the night because it was 11:11 and I got stuff to buy. Yeah. So I just woke up 12 o'clock and I went to Shopee, buy something, and then continued to sleep until the next day. But that was also because I was giving myself too much pressure, I feel. Yeah. But other than that, all good. Yeah.
Right. Can you share with us one last question? That's a good point here. How have you maintained that level of discipline?
How do I maintain that level of discipline? For me, I don't really have much discipline problem because I think I was actually grown up in that environment where from Chinese school, right, very disciplined one. So from younger time, I would say my schedule are always very packed. Yeah, very packed, very full. So for me, I don't have that problem to find that motivation or be very disciplined. For me, it's like my second nature already because I've been cultivating this discipline thing, right, since very, very young time. Yeah, for me, I would feel very weird if I don't work. Yeah.
Right. So if you don't have things in place, you will feel that very odd because I check on nothing to do. So not doing anything is a challenge for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll let the regional team to keep on adding more things for you to do. Okay. Right. Can I have the announcement, please, Marcus? Then we will go for some last thoughts. Announcements. Thank you, Marcus. Right. So we are going to have our training are not stopping until I don't know whenever. We'll keep be driving home these trainings, even though everyone market is open on that, because we want to maintain a weekly connection with everyone, at the same time being a resource to support everyone. And this Thursday we have a session called Wealth Without Limits. And I want to just invite everyone else here to come because we want to share some success stories of how the R2R campaign has helped build certain growth share tree opportunities for many people. And we're having some success in the R2R campaign right now. We want to share how it is being done and how we do it, right? So do come for our R2R campaign session on Thursday at 8:30 a.m. to 9:00 a.m. You'll be hearing from George and Susan how they work in a team to help get more R2s in to help you build your growth share tree, right? Next slide, please. Okay, so we are still campaigning for each drop that you can put your listings out there. As many people have their listings on a spotlight, you will then have more exposure. I believe we are in a very, very good season. We have already doubled up our production for the month of October versus month of September. You can see we will not give up one. We are always very consistent in what we say and we do. All these touch points will be always there every week. Consistency is very important because consistency helps you to build momentum, right? So we are building this and we are looking at introducing new things as we go along the way, but our touch points are still going to be there with the scripts to help you reach in touch with your clients and your SOIs. Okay, next slide, please. Right, so Ashlynn, what are some of your last thoughts for us in terms of if I'm an agent today and I am stuck, I'm not progressing well, I'm not gaining momentum, what's your advice?
I would say you then have to reach out to people, people or coach or someone who is more experienced, right? And so that have them to ask you really good question. Yeah, because there are times where you have blind spot, you do not know, you don't even know what you need or you want, but have someone to ask you, question, I think is good. Yeah, for me, I personally gain a lot just by having the right people helping me to gain that clarity that I need in my business.
Right. Why do you think that's important? I just want to follow up here. Why do you think having someone to challenge or ask you certain questions to gain clarity is important for you? Why do you think that's important?
Yeah, I think because oftentimes we are bombarded by a lot of opportunities, or if you are not careful, that can become distraction. Because especially in the real estate business, sometimes you just need to be persistent because there are many ways for us to make money. Yeah, project also can earn money, sub-sale also can earn money. Some people, they are very focused on just doing one project. Some people, they are doing everything, but they also make money. Some people, they are solo agent, they make money too. Some, they have team, they have partner. So the opportunity is really endless, but you just got to find out what's actually works best for you. Yeah, so I think that is I think that's very important. Yeah.
Right. So having people to ask you those questions, having people to journey with you and ask questions and challenge you to your clarity to make sure that you are on the right track. So Ashlynn, thank you so much for being here today with us and sharing your life and your business journey. I can sense so much excitement. I can sense so much progress. I don't know how many of you, I'm sensing a lot of momentum in your journey, in your personal life and your business as well. Now, if you have learned something and you have benefited something from this conversation today, please express your gratitude to Ashlynn for taking off the time and being very vulnerable in front of everyone, right? So please take time to express your gratitude to her. And remember, she likes to help people. And so I let you know that. I just let you know, okay? So reach out to her if you always need help, because she'll be supporting some of our agents and the market centers in the technology area as well, in how to use technology. She's really one of our key adoption person in the area of technology. So with that, guys, thank you very much. I hope this has kickstart your journey and help you hit some momentum this morning for the rest of the week, and it will give you that boost to end the month of October with a strong month. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good one and see you all in the next training. Thank you, Ashlynn.
Thank you.
Bye.